your most important asset we talk about in the business all the time is the list. That's just the most important thing, because if you're not sharing the business with new people, then ultimately you're not getting your business to grow, which means you're not adding new apps, and apps are sort of the number one vital sign we say in the business all the time is your business growing? Is it going forwards or backwards? Because it's not staying still. And so to keep the business growing, you have to make a list. Very few people do I meet have spoken to every single person on their list. And if you have, great. Now you can start the business. Because the business is not, when you get into real estate or anything else, those of you that have done that, right? Or if you're a physician, you're not like, well, I've treated all my family members, so I guess I'm going to close down my shop. Not going to have a practice anymore. My mom had a cold, treated her, out of medicine, right? That's not what we do. And then in real estate, you don't sell a house to, your brother and sister and cousin and then get out of well, maybe some people do, but you don't, and then get out of real estate. That's where your business begins. You start the business with the people on your list, but your list is a growing, dynamic, changing thing. Now, what we don't want is to talk to, for you, or have you talk to the 4 people you think want to do Amway, because that's not a list I want to see. It's just not. You're like, this guy'd be really good in Amway. Wow, let's talk to him last. Because their perception of what they think Amway is has led them to believe that this guy who's a good talker, or who has lots of time, or who whatever, people pre-qualify people for the things that they think are important in the business. How do you explain the fact that my dad, who's an aeronautical engineer and was an extremely introverted person, built one of the biggest Amway businesses in the world, if not the largest? How do you explain that? And yet, what do? All of us that make a list go, ooh, this guy, he's great at sales. This guy, he's a good talker. This guy, it's not to say that those people won't do well, but why, when you're staring right in the face of a guy who built the biggest Amway business in the world, who moved to California with no list, had only lived here like a year, right? We're introverted. My mom was a teacher. They didn't know anybody. They didn't have any money. They lived in a small, tiny little house. And what do? We want to talk to the guy who lives in a big apartment complex because he knows lots of people, or the guy who lives, we all try to pre-qualify all the reasons why people may or may not do well in the business. What I say is, pick the sharpest people you know and just show it to them. Just get the business in front of as many people as you possibly can, because ultimately, enough of those people are going to do it to make it worth it. So I don't know why we all tend to want to pre-qualify the people we think are going to do well. Or, ooh, I know who I want to start my second team with, this guy. Well, you just killed him. You probably just jinxed him. The fact that you wanted to start your second team with that guy probably means he's never going to do anything. So I just, but again, be careful not to go around jaded thinking like, well, nobody's going to do anything anyway, so they'll probably all stink, so I'll just stick them in team 2. You don't want that feeling. Right, but you also don't want to pin your hopes on each individual home meeting or one-on-one, or this guy's going to do it, and if that guy doesn't, because ultimately then your dream is in the hands of somebody else. If you're pinning all your hopes on this one guy, even if they're building the business and going Leaders Club and doing all those things, and you think, yeah, what happens to people is they get their dream all mucked up in what their people are doing instead of what they can control. And when your dream is all wrapped around all that stuff, then when they quit, your dream dies with it. Because you felt like they were going to be the one to take you to the top. And it happens to all of us. I have to be careful not to get, sucked in by somebody who's doing really well and new and, whatever. Because I've just seen, even in my very short time in the business, I've just seen too much. People that are going along and building and doing great disappear, and people that have been dead in the water for 4 years all of a sudden have a burst of activity and get to the top of the bonus scale. I've seen it both in just a short amount of time. But if you get too caught up in what each individual person is doing, you can really get all your goals and all your dreams and all your emotions wrapped up in them, which you can't control them. You can only control what you can do, which is show the plan more, get a bigger list, and add more people. And if you want to know how to add people and you're brand new to the business and you don't know that many people or whatever, first of all, you probably know more people than you think. So make your real list, get with your upline after you leave today, when, make the appointment today while you're still, feeling good, because again, you're going to want to cancel in a couple days. So make the appointment today to make calls with your upline and tell them, okay, at that session, I'm going to break out my real list. Okay? And you're gonna really break out your real list this time. And you tell them that here while you're feeling strong. Again, we're gonna know, and you're allowed to say now that even if I resist it, you make me get out my real list when we meet on Wednesday. Great, okay? That's what you're gonna do. And why wouldn't you want to put your upline in front of your sharpest people? Why would you start with the people you're not afraid of when you have an upline showing it for you? I mean, in other words, sooner or later, I got thousands of people in my group. I can't show the plan for all my people forever. So if you're going to use me, or if you're going to use your upline, put me in front of the best people you got, not the ones you think are easy. The ones that you think are easy, you just get by calling them and saying, get in, and they would. Right? Because just on your excitement alone, you could call and sign up 4 or 5 people. Great, okay, so, you got those people. Don't use your upline for those people. Use your upline for the scary people. Because the scary people have nicer no's. Even if they say no, they're nice about it. People are like, that sounds like a scam. I'm like, wow. Wow, I don't even know where to go with that. But smart people are like, they're $8.2 billion a year, 50-year debt-free company, Better Business Bureau, 36 years. I mean, they don't think it's a scam. And so at least, when they say no, it's like a polite no. It's like, you know what, this is great. You should pursue it, but not something I want to add to my life right now, and you part ways. Great. You can take that all day long. And then what we end up doing is we show it to the people we think need it. The people we think really need it. It would really change their life if they got it and whatever. Yes, it would, but the amount of changing they'd have to do to build it, I mean, you could get them in the hopper, they could listen to CDs, because guys, there's a difference. I'm not talking about money. There is broke situationally, and then there is broke mentality. Very different things. There's a lot of folks right now that are broke situationally, but they ain't broke up here. Those people you can work with. People that have broke mentality, it's like, they don't want to buy CEP because they've always been given every manual they've ever gotten at work. They don't want to, they don't want to go out and show the plan. They want you to show the plan for them because it's a team approach. They don't want to buy any products because they don't want to spend money. I mean, it's an uphill battle the whole time. And sooner or later, you're just like, you can't do it anymore. So I'll just spare you a lot of time and just say, put us in front of your sharp people. And if you, again, that's where the list that exists. Most of the people here, if you actually went through all of the list of all the people and really tried to show plans to them, everyone in here could be a platinum or above. Probably with the list you have, to be honest with you. Without even prospecting anyone. It's the darndest thing. Now, obviously to stay there, they've had to, go out and meet people and whatever, but just putting in 20, 25, 30 people, you can go platinum. That's a done deal. You want to make $30, $40, $50,000 a year? Great. You can probably do that with the list you have. If you can't do it with the list you have, then here's the deal, guys. It's kind of like it's kind of like we were talking about before. There is no option C. It's like people want to talk about all the things they want and everything they want to change and all that stuff, but then it's like, well, then you have to meet people. Oh, I'm not good at that. Well, that's not an option. You have to get good at it. I mean, I'm not being insensitive. What I mean is, if ultimately you want what the business provides, freedom, time, money, whatever it is you're going after, the ability to help people, any of that stuff, ultimately, you're not going to come into the business with every skill necessary. I didn't, my parents didn't, the diamonds here didn't. Nobody comes into the business with all the necessary skills. Some people come in at a higher level of skill than others, but the point is we all have things we need to learn. It's like the pool table thing I was talking about earlier, or anything else in life. You don't come into your job or your schoolwork or any of that stuff with the necessary skills. You just had to learn it. It's just here, you have to voluntarily learn it. That's the problem. At your job, you either learn it or you get fired. Here, you learn it or you quit. But it doesn't impact your life in any way, because it hasn't been a big enough part of your life to impact it. And so that's the ultimate problem we have with the business is we've got to get people to do stuff they're not necessarily comfortable doing for results that come way later down the road without the ability to force them to do it. So it's like you've got to hope that the nightmare or the dream or whatever it is big enough to cause them to want to step out and do the things they need to do to make it. And so if you're not good at meeting people, again, listen to a bunch of CDs and get good. I mean, meeting people, how you doing? That's it. Practice saying hi to people. What we're not trying to teach you is some sort of great intergalactic business ownership approach that you use with people when you're out in public. That would make anybody uncomfortable. I mean, I don't try to go around like hawking bookstores and looking for people looking for Kiyosaki books and say, there's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. That's okay, but the way we teach is more of a lifestyle prospecting. It's just you're out and about. There are prospects everywhere, where you eat lunch, where you go to the dry cleaners, where you get your coffee, when you go to the Taco Bell drive-thru, whatever. I mean, there are people, this doctor that we registered, I met by Jules going in there because she had a throat problem. We met her, we showed her the plan because we struck up a conversation, said, how you doing? She told us all the deals going on with her medical practice and all this stuff and whatever. Led to a conversation saying, look, not for today, but let's get together and chat. Done. I asked every other doctor I've ever gone to see, how you doing? Didn't sign any of them up. It doesn't work every time, guys. It just works enough of the time, right? And not everything has to work every time. The home meeting thing doesn't work every time. How we make lists doesn't work every time. How we explain money doesn't work every time. They don't have to work every time. That's the beautiful thing about the business. And if you'll do enough of the right things over a consistent period of time, there's that word again, right? Over a consistent period of time, you'll make what we say you're gonna make. So if you wanna learn how to meet people, there's a couple ways to do it, right? You could go to the mall, you could do this. You could go to the mall. If you walked up to 100 people, you'd probably get 5 or 6 names. Maybe even 10 if you dress nice and, whatever. Who knows, right? That's a way. I mean, it's not a very comfortable way, but that's a way. I mean, if you're really, really like thinking, I don't know how to talk to people, I don't know how to, then just go on the straight cold call method. Right? I don't know if I want the people that respond to that, right? I probably don't. But, you may want those people, okay? And that's okay. But that's probably not the most duplicatable way to do it, right? And so we have CDs that teach, and there's all kinds of different methods, and you can talk to your upline. What I do is just strike up a conversation with them. Happens all the time. I'm out places, I strike up conversations with people. I don't talk to them about the business at all. I separate the appointment completely from meeting the person. I just find a way to get a card of theirs, whether they're an investment banker or a real estate broker, or they fix garage doors, or they do mobile pet grooming, whatever. You get the business card, and then you say, I hope we can do business together. And here's the other thing I do. When I meet someone who needs a mobile dog groomer, I pass the info along. I don't just take it for my own benefit. I take the cards and I give them out to people when I believe I can recommend them. I'm actually doing what I said I was gonna do. Now, if a few of the people we struck up conversation and something struck me where I could talk to them about the business, then I've got a stack of cards in here that some of you guys have seen me show before, but this is a new stack. This is like just the last week or so. I mean, these are just cards of people that I met. I may never call any of these, but to be pace setter every month, I may call a few of them to try to sign some people up. But guess what? When I wanted to get our next team to the top of the bonus scale, we needed to put in about 12 people. So I went to the card pile, called a bunch of them, and then just got moving again. I mean, but once you know you can own that ability anytime, what'd I do? I called him and said, hey, one of the guys that he came over and did a whole bunch of handiwork on our house. And obviously he was a superintendent of a construction company, like now was doing handyman work for $25 an hour. How'd I find out that? I talked to him. He came over to the house, I gave him an excess to drink, and while he's fixing the stuff that I am nowhere near handy enough to fix myself, great, we had this great conversation. I didn't say anything about the business. I gave him an excess to drink, he liked it, didn't mention anything about, well, my company sells these, and you may be interested, I didn't say anything. I just got his card, and when he left, we were on our sponsoring spree and wanted to get a few new people in the business, so I called him. I mean, guys, you know how this works, but it's just a matter of having your antenna up. I called him and said, look, we were chatting the other day. You mentioned how you were making a lot more money before. I may have an option for you, not a job or anything, but we should get together and chat. Done, right? 2 minutes. People don't question that. But how did I get comfortable to call like that? I called 1,000 times. I mean, it only took 10 to get comfortable, but I'm just saying, people have all this fear for their first 2 calls. No kidding. You have fear the first 2 times you do anything. But once you do it 10 times, like the fear's gone, and now it just becomes habit. Right? And again, we do it for our jobs or anything else where it's not voluntary. But here, because it's voluntary, you have to voluntarily put yourself in your ego on the line or your pride on the line or whatever to go do it. So I made the call to that guy. He signed up. The manager of a restaurant that we heard was closing. This guy was moving to another restaurant. And he was moving across town. He was having to move his family because he wasn't going to be able to get over there in time. And he was telling us all that stuff. And I said, oh, well, we'd like to try the new place. And, why don't you give me a card? He wrote down a card. I called him, said, no, you weren't looking to move. I can't do anything about this move, but I might be able to help prevent you from future moves. May have an idea for you to make some money. Boom, sit down with him, show him the plan. It's just all day, every day, meeting people and just being friendly. You don't have to come up with some great shtick of how to meet them and fancifully get a card. And when I think people are too caught up in how do I bring up the business? Don't. That's how you bring it up. Just don't bring it up. That's what I do. And that's what we teach our group to do. Just meet the person. Then that way you're not focused on you. You're actually listening to what they say. That whole skill, right? I didn't used to be very good at that, right? I'm like, yeah, and I'm just waiting for my turn to talk, right? And so that's what happens when you're trying to come in with your line. what you're doing is tuning them out completely when they're talking about little Mary who's at her recital, whatever. You don't even know if they have kids.
That was a good line.
Well, you may not know this, but I actually help people create additional income streams, and you haven't even listened to a word they've said. And so what I'd rather you do is focus on them. Learn as much as you can about them. Make it all about them. So that way when you call, again, I may never call any of these people, but I've got a story about all of them that I can go back to, and they know then I cared, that I was listening. I was paying attention. What I used to do before when I was always trying to bring up my line is it was going in one ear and out the other because I was just waiting for my time to prospect. And I just find that doesn't work as well, and it doesn't resonate with people as well as actually focusing on them and actually listening to what they have to say to see if the business may be a fit or not. So either you get out your list of people you haven't talked to yet and actually call them. You got to do one or the other. You either got to finally pick up the phone and call them, or you got to decide you don't want what the business provides. But you can't have both. That's the problem. No, this is not a big thing we're saying to do. Right? This is not like scary. Nobody's going to be offended. In this economy, talk to me about the person who would think you're silly for trying to create additional income. And then ask them what they're doing and how it's working for them. Oh, it's not. Sorry. Where else can you go in a bad economy and say for $140, you can make someone unlimited income potential, no cost of running an office, there's a lot of people that make the same money I do. They just have a lot more expenses, right? My expenses for the amount of money that we make is just not a lot of money. And again, there's lots of people who make the money we do all over Orange County, all over the country, everywhere that make way more money than we do. They just don't live like we do. We're free, we're happy and young, and we have one daughter and another kid on the way, and I don't have to worry about if I'm going to get time off or if it's going to come at a bad time in the quarter or I just don't have to worry about that stuff. And it's such a less stressful life when you at 30 can just forget about all the worries of work or at 40 or at 50 or at 60 or whatever age you are. Because again, if you keep repeating the same things over and over again, it's not like it changes. There's not another option out there. And so that's what ultimately we had to look at. So if you make the list and you'll do those things and break out the list you have or start meeting new people and kind of get over it, because again, the only person that's listening to the excuse you're saying of why you can't do it is you, because there is no reason why you can't do it. You may not be comfortable talking to people, but there are ways to get comfortable. You may not be comfortable showing the plan, but to make $150,000 a year, would you learn a 20-minute presentation that comes with notes? Wow. You couldn't read something in front of people? Have them read it. I don't know. Didn't do that? You made them read it or something, But ultimately, if you want what the business provides, you got to come our way somewhat. It's not for our benefit. It's for yours. The people want to talk me out of why they couldn't make it. Well, I would never, and I don't talk to people, and I don't, and I'm like, you're only talking to yourself. I understand if you don't want to, you can do it. But if you've already got yourself convinced you can't, then you're right. And so what I'd tell you is, get rid of that negative, sort of self-talk you've got going on and realize anybody can. Anybody can do it. You can talk to people. You can show the plan to people. You can do startups for people. You can get people to a meeting. How hard is that? Sign them up, get them to a meeting. Well, they'll do the rest. If they come to a meeting, they'll realize they're not going to make it if they don't order products and sell products and do that. All those things will come to light if you get them to a meeting. So if you just got good at that, get them to the weekly previews. Get people out to those. Why? And you go out to them, because the more times you hear the plan, the better you're going to be at it. And if you're there, a body there at the seat, in the seat there at the meeting, you're providing a service for those of us that bring prospects to the meeting. Because if they come there and they see a nice full room and they see sharp looking, nicely dressed people and whatever, it makes their prospect want to sign up. And if you'll do that for them, then the people who bring their prospect, that got their prospect to sign up, will do that for you. They'll come to the meeting. So when you come, you don't want it a crapshoot, like the 9 people who brought a prospect are all that's there. That negative breeds more negative, and you don't have a good meeting. So go to the preview. You'll hear the plan more, you'll meet more people, you'll do that. Wherever you have a preview local, close to you, be at it, be a team player, and here's what you know. When you know you're gonna be there no matter what anyway, you're gonna get a lot better at bringing people to it. In other words, if you're gonna use the gas, the time, the resource, whatever, to be there every 2 weeks, then you're much more likely to bring people. If you only will go to the preview if you'll bring people, you'll never go. Because you won't go because you didn't bring anyone, And you won't bring anyone because you never go. So it's this cyclical whole thing that happens. And if you're brand new to the business and you haven't even made $5, I'm not expecting you to be like, yeah, forget my daughter's wedding. I'm going to the weekend. Okay, no, right? I hear you. Okay, I hear you on that. But so I get it. But if you don't have the money, then let us help you sell something. Let us help you sell something. Talk about the energy drinks. Talk to you guys. Health Point. Right? The weight loss thing these guys did a great job of talking about. You know how many people want to lose weight? Hello, right? I mean, not that I'm not awesome looking, but I'm just saying, I could stand to lose a couple of pounds. So, it's a new year. Go on Health Point. Go on it. Get on Health Point, lose some weight, get a few friends to get on it with you. You're moving tons of product. You get reorders of product because it uses our vitamins, our protein bars, our protein shakes, the excess, the perfect water. You got, all these incredible products, all the biggest money selling products are all incorporated in that thing. So every time you hear somebody talking about wanting to lose weight, recommend Health Point. Just say it. Oh, you know what? We actually were just at a conference in Irvine this weekend where they talked about this great weight loss program. It's no drugs or anything. You mentioned you wanted to lose weight. We should check out some information on it. I think I got a DVD. How hard is that? Say that 100 times. You make $100 every time you sell one on the products in the kit. Plus 100 points nearly. 80-something PV or whatever it is, 89. So, $100 and 100 points every time you sell one's pretty good. So if you can't pay for the weekend, find one person in the next 2 weeks who wants to lose weight. You just paid for your weekend ticket. Done. Right? I don't mean to systematically take away your excuses. I just mean I'm trying to save you from yourself, right? Okay, so I just want to save you from yourself. Don't let it be an easy cop-out like money or figure out a way to get the money and come to the weekend because, boy, that's going to be a big difference maker for you. But don't let some excuse that's not really an excuse be the reason because we can help you sell it. If it's money, we can help you sell it. If it's work off, you can probably get off. Short of, I guess, some careers, maybe not, but 90% of you could if it was, again, a family member's wedding or something else going on. And so you figure out a way to do that. Get your hands on some products since it's no risk to you and start being a marketer of the products. That's part of the business, whether we like it or not. Get some stuff, start marketing it, and let's get the word out there to people and start moving some products. And that, in conjunction with making a real list, talking to people, real, and then also, the prospecting side, getting good at meeting people. If you're not good at sales, then let us help you get good at it. If you're, by doing drop and shop, that's not sales. If you're not good at meeting people, listen to some CDs or just take my advice. Just go say hi to people. Start meeting people. Practice, just saying hi, just, speaking to people, whatever. And if you're coming across, if you're scaring people off because you're like, that's kind of scary. People are like, dude, you have no relationship. You've never met them before in your life. And then you launch into, a way to make them money. And it's just hard. I just suggest working a little bit more, smarter, right? A little bit smarter and not quite as hard on that kind of stuff and banging your head against the wall doing the wrong things because the business isn't that complicated. If you haven't made your list yet, put as many names as you possibly can down on it. Get your upline over there to show the plan to them. Get your 3 teams started. You're making money by the end of January. Leaders Club's a 2-week goal. Right? Have a good home meeting. Get some of those people to order. Put a few of them on CEP. It's not that hard. But we make it hard with all the stuff that goes in up here. But ultimately, if you've decided you want to get what the business provides, and ultimately you've decided that this is, the money and the time and the freedom and whatever that this thing provides is something that you want, then we just need to make the positive steps to change some of the things we're doing, do core, do 150 points, be 100% user, fill out your weekend form, get on CEP, get people to the next BBS, and show the concept 2 to 4 times a month. And if you'll do those in conjunction with a good list, some good startups, and getting people connected to these great products, you will be shocked and amazed by both the immediate money and the long-term money created by the network building and doing the proper startups and those kind of things. And when those two things meet, you'll be amazed by what this year can bring.